Welcome back after the break. Now we've been joined in, by Ambassador Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab. Needs no introduction. He's a senior diplomat, sir. Thank you very much. We have with us Yousaf Naseem Saab, leader of APHC, All Parties Hurriyat Conference. Sir, thank you very much. And we also have with us in our studio Lieutenant General retired Naeem Khalid Lodhi Saab, who's the former Secretary of Defence. Sir, thank you very much. Now, Ali Sarwar Naqvi Saab, since we are observing the Kashmir Solidarity Day, and earlier we were having a word about whatever is going on in the Indian occupied Kashmir and the kind of atrocities and how the youth is suffering. Not only youth, everyone from any sphere of life, they're having a very miserable life. The right, forget about the right for self-determination, right to live, right to eat, right to breathe, right for the health. No, they have nothing, sir.
Right. That's
so what's exactly going on, sir?
Very unfortunate. Yes, you are quite right that there are two parts to it, as I have talked about it in other forums also. One is the issue of Jammu and Kashmir, which is a long-standing issue. It's on the agenda of the United Nations and has been there a long time. And the UN has taken some action, but not enough to deal with the problem. They have the UN Military Observers Group on India and Pakistan, UNMOGIP, which is still located here. And they also have, resolutions that exist on their records. So that is as far as the international issue is concerned. But the other and the most heart-rending part of this problem is the human rights violations that you have talked about. That they have, now they don't even have food to eat, they have no
so there's scarcity of medicine. It's been almost 6 months that curfew is imposed.
Yes.
For the first 4 months, it was like almost on daily basis. But now on and off.
Yes.
According to the wish of the Indian Army.
Forces.
Yes, sir.
So, this is the most heart-rending situation. And no large body of people can be subjected to this continuous atrocity with no respite at any stage. There are women and children, old people, and all these vulnerable members of a society who are directly affected, much more so than the able-bodied and healthy people. So the world must take notice of this, the human rights violations of on a large scale of an entire population, which is going on in Azad Kashmir and in Jammu and Kashmir, Indian occupied Kashmir. Now, 5th of February is a date that is sacrosanct for most all Pakistanis and the Pakistani nation as a whole. And we in the embassies used to observe it every year with great solemnity. And I remember whenever I have headed the mission, and then on 5th of February we used to have a big gathering at the embassy, and all the Pakistani expatriates living in that country would
come and show
solidarity, and we would pass a resolution. So the day is marked, and therefore it recalls for me all those past 5th of February events. But we.
But Naqvi Sahab, let me share something very interesting. Ever since I was in school, I remember there used to be a huge gathering of people from all walks of life in Pindi. I'm talking about Pindi. And they would gather and they would address, and then people would start getting together, and they would walk all the way on the GT road to the UN office, which is very close to the EU Park. Yes. They would present a piece of paper there, and then everybody would disperse. But sir, that was just an SOP. Yes. Now I realize that was just an SOP,
Yes.
Nothing has happened. I mean, I don't know how many papers have been presented before them, but don't you think what needs to be done now to make it more effective? This is year 2017. It's a .com era, sir. It's a different ball game now.
Yes, that is the difference. Yes. You see, I think more than ever before, now social media and all these new modes of communication, which are instant modes of communication, WhatsApp or all kinds of other
Instagram, Facebook.
Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, whatever have you. All these modes of communication have made it impossible for the Indian government to put a lid on this, because in the past information used to be very heavily controlled, but now it cannot be controlled. The world will take cognizance of it, though for various geopolitical reasons that is not happening right now. But if this goes on, I don't see how this can be forgotten completely and ignored. The outrage of the international community will be what makes the difference. In a totally different situation, of course, but when the Serbian authorities were carrying out atrocities against the Bosnian people who were Muslim, largely Muslim, the world ignored it for a long while. But eventually they had to come to terms with it, and they had to press the Serbian government to stop it. So I think
That was ethnic cleansing. Sir.
that was ethnic cleansing. So this has happened in Rwanda with the Hutus and the Tutsis. So there have been instances where this kind of massive violation of human rights, the complete disregard of the people who are there, and atrocities on a massive scale that are carried out by the security forces will have to be taken into account by the international community.
That's very well said. So let's take the debate further. Your take, sir.
I think Ambassador Saab well said. So far the present situation in Indian occupied Kashmir is concerned, after using all the forces, draconian laws, the formula might is right, India reached on this conclusion that we cannot curb this popular freedom struggle in Jammu and Kashmir. And from last 6 months, I can say these are the last moments. This policy of Indian, so far the Kashmir is concerned, is going fail day by day. In last 15 days, I think a delegation came to Srinagar, and when he went back to Delhi, he reported there the Kashmiri youth is ready to die.
Yashwant Sinha's report.
Shiv Sena report, but he cannot, Kashmiris cannot surrender before the Indian army. And so many Indian journals also has given this statement to the government of India. This is political issue and you can resolve it only politically. Militarily we cannot give defeat to the Kashmiris. This is the reality. So far our leaders are concerned. No doubt they are not allowed to move anywhere in the world. Even they cannot go into the mosque as well. Gilani Saab is continuously under house arrest, and other leaders.
And he's very sick, I've heard, sir.
Exactly, he's sick. At present, he is admitted in Sarwar Institute of Medical Science. So this is, in this situation, I think now, so far Pakistan, the solidarity from Pakistan helps a lot internationally and struggling people to the Kashmir as well. Because the Kashmir, now the world is seeing situation of Kashmir. Kashmir is situated between 4 nuclear powers. One side China, one side India, one side Pakistan and Russia. And if you cannot resolve this issue, this can be a nuclear war at any time and not the peace of this region.
No wonder Kashmir is called the nuclear flashpoint.
The nuclear flashpoint. And now the international community is also taking interest to resolve this Kashmir conflict by peaceful means. If you will go through the OIC, 57 countries are the members of the OIC. They have passed so many resolutions in summits or in foreign ministers' conferences and supported the same resolutions of the United Nations which are passed in 1948 or in 1949 and after that also in 1957, 62. Now India is seeing one thing. if there will be plebiscite, the India will lose the game. India is knowing 100% this fact. Kashmiris are against, Kashmiris were always against India, and the position of India is going day by day weak. One can imagine there are 700,000 Indian army there, but the school-going children are not fearing to the army. They are asking them, Indian dogs, go back, we want freedom. If this is the situation, this is not now easy for India to curb this popular movement. So far the Pakistan is concerned, this is very much clear. Pakistan is a party to the dispute. Pakistan is the advocate of this issue. And the Kashmir issue is already, I can say, this is the unfinished agenda of partition. Kashmiris decided before Pakistan coming into existence in 1947, the All Jammu and Kashmir Muslim Conference, which was the only largest political organizations in the state of Jammu and
What
Kashmir.
kind of a strength they have at the moment, sir, as we speak? This political party.
This political party, I think this is the mother of all the political parties in Jammu and Kashmir.
But when you
like
say
Muslim
now the
League,
involvement of youth is getting more, so when you talk about the command structure, obviously there's a system you need to follow. The youth is in full control and command of these senior leaders, or they're looking forward to the young leaders like Muzaffar Rani.
no, this is fourth generation. If you will see, this continuously, this movement is changed from one generation to another, and there is completely hold of the Hurriyat leaders on this movement. All the programs are issued by the Hurriyat leadership, and the entire Kashmiri nation accepts that and act upon that. So far, some people are saying the youths are not under control, but no, there is absolutely, Mirwais is there, Sayyid Ali Shah Gilani Sahib is there, Shibir Shah is there, Yasin Malik is there, other leaders are there, and they are 100% complete their control on the entire struggle.
Right. Now, Jalsa, a couple of points. I mean, we do understand there's a problem. There was a problem, and it is going to remain there till the time the Indians have certain designs. For example, they're changing the demographics in Kashmir, because at some stage, let's suppose they want to become the member of NSG or for that matter, Security Council. They need to look after this particular problem. So they have this plan B, the contingency plan, to change the demographics, bring in more people, and then do some sort of a dhandli or rigging, and get the desired results. And this is what the Indians have done so far.
Right.
Do you think, sir, at the same time, are we really looking after our own affairs in an appropriate fashion? Are we really concerned about the legitimate issues out there, sir? And whatever Pakistan has done so far is enough. If not, what else needs to be done, sir?
That is exactly what I would like to say. Faisal, if you allow me, I'd like to look at it from a different angle. First of all, we must see 70 years have passed, and as you have yourself said, that we must analyze and think what can happen in the next 10 years, 20 years, whatever, because those 70 years should be a good lesson for us. I think if we look at the construct of the international politics, once Pakistan was being bifurcated, hardly anybody spoke about it, that East Pakistan is being separated. Sudan became two.
Yes.
It happened. East Timor got independence. So now wherever, except you talked about Bosnia and Serbia. Serbia was a small power. They could be pressurized, and that thing could happen. But in this case, if I look at the 70 years or even 100 years of history, I don't think, this is my opinion, and it goes counter to the what the diplomats think, any amount of waiting, any amount of your doing whatever you want to do in political terms, in moral terms, is not going to really resolve the issue unless we change some paradigm. If we look at the this regional situation, the two powers are nuclear powers, and nuclear powers normally they only status quo can only be perpetuated. It is very difficult to change the situation. So what can we do? in my humble opinion, saying again and again that we will provide diplomatic support and political support and moral support, I think we need, short of war, we should try to find out some other support for Kashmiris also. What comes to my mind is, of course, in material support, we can ask the international community that please at least allow the Azad Kashmiri people to go and help them in medical terms, to give them some food, to give them some shelter. I mean, I don't think that Pakistan has played its role nowadays, especially that actively as, I mean, if you keep on saying what you have been saying for the last 70 years, and if it keeps on happening whatever has been happening for the last 70 years, so what are we expecting?
Exactly.
I mean, what new are we doing that we are expecting something new? The same things will keep on happening. There's nobody in this world who's listening to you. And though the UNO has nearly lost its relevance, because just see what Israelis said once they were told that stop, expanding your housing schemes and all that. They said
rejected that.
They said not only rejected that, they said we can leave UN if that be the case. So in my opinion, we are a nuclear power. There is no possibility of a war. I mean, so what are we afraid of? There's a part of Kashmir which is with us, Kashmiri brothers and Pakistanis also. I think they have all the right to give that material support to the Kashmiris which they do require today. Can't we even convince the international community that please allow us to give them food, please allow us to give them medical, please allow them to give them shelter? I think we are not doing that.
So when we say that political support, diplomatic support and moral support, these three words are very commonly used.
What I am suggesting is that add to it the material support, not short of war. This material support which I am talking about.
Pakistan did offer that, but the Indians refused it, sir.
I mean, that is where we should use the international community.
You
I mean,
think
that should be step one.
Will have a better edge over the real issue in 2017. When you talk about this particular year, so let's suppose because this is the start of this year, and this movement, I mean, which has gained a lot of momentum in the last almost 5 to 6 months, people believe that if this continues, this can bring in some sort of a change. I'm not saying that Kashmir would be handed over to Pakistan, but what I'm saying is at least it is going to make some difference. 140 plus people have been killed, 17,000, 17.
Right.
They've been injured. More than 5,000 have been blinded, out of which 3,000 are totally blinded, sir. Use of pellet guns, the way they pick up people, they torture people. I mean, the list goes on and on.
So you are expecting that Indian government will come under some moral pressure to change their attitude?
At least some pressure, sir, because they are having a lot of pressure from
the good thing is that some moral pressure is coming from within the Indian polity.
Exactly.
That might work.
Yashwant Sinha's visit.
But do remember that there has been a number of such movements in India. This is the largest, of course. Many separatist movements, and India being a very large power, they have been able to overcome all those. And in my own assessment, I may be wrong. If this thing keeps going the way it is going, and we keep on, harping this thing that the UNO must, come forward and do whatever.
It is never going to happen.
It will never going to happen.
Whether
International community will never come to your.
Kofi Annan, or it was Putras Ghali, or the current one.
So
they never even talk about Kashmir on the UN platform, sir.
Diplomacy, politics, economy, military, they all work hand in hand.
Correct.
We have to look inwards. We have to make ourselves strong so that the people, they do listen to us.
Yes.
You can't blame the diplomats. Diplomats, they only do whatever is at their back. They can only work whatever strength you are providing them in terms of economy, in terms of all that. Right.
Yeah, they can't go beyond that.
So I also propose. I mean, of course, I'm not the first one who is saying that. And I know that there's a lot of opposition to this, that unless you start talking of some out-of-box solution, things will not change. Unless you come out of these three supports, that is moral, political and diplomatic, you add to it the material support, short of war, this thing will not work. Excuse me. And also remember that if time comes, I am a military man, so that is why I'm saying that. What is India doing to us? In spite of being a nuclear power, in spite of Pakistan being a nuclear power, what are they doing in Balochistan? What are they doing in Karachi? What are they doing in Balochistan? What are they doing elsewhere? So why are we shy to do anything else? If not in Kashmir, why not elsewhere in India?
And India is a very vulnerable country,
Right,
sir.
they have the vulnerabilities, and I don't know that, okay, Pakistanis may not go and support the Kashmiri brethren, but what is stopping the Azad Kashmiri people to go and support them? I mean, what are we
Whether
waiting
Bihar
for?
or Tamil or Khalistan for that matter, we all know what happened in Golden Temple.
So things will not change unless we change ourselves from within, and also we change our, whatever we say and whatever we do.
All right. Now, Naqvi Saab, now things are really every day, whether you talk about social media or you talk about newspapers or you talk about radio channels or you talk about television channels, it's all about Donald Trump these days. The kind of executive orders he's passing and the
Yes.
mindset he has at the moment, people are afraid. People are very uncertain at the moment. Their defense secretary is in Japan at the moment, and they have a very different mindset at the moment. But when it comes to India, he says that when India and US they'll be having a great relationship. Two countries, one Israel, second India, and third I would say Russia. They seem to be okay with him in, being in power. But whether you talk about Europe, France, or England, UK, or Latin America, forget about NAFTA or NATO or this particular region or Middle East, everybody's confused. So now, sir, the kind of engagement, and earlier they had signed a few pacts during the last government, defense pact, logistics
support
use
agreement.
of bases, and so on and so forth. Transfer of technology, I mean, that is something huge.
Yes.
So that means you would see a much more powerful India in the next couple of 4-5 years as
Yes.
compared to what India is today. A lot of Western support coming.
Yes.
A lot of more military equipment being bought by the Indians. They have increased. I was watching this, or rather, I was reading this report, and they have increased their budget 10% last year and 10% now. This was reported by Arun Jaitley, around $40 billion, sir.
Yeah.
Now, this is what their design is. They want to be the power, the superpower of the region. They have issues with the Chinese, they have issues with Pakistan, but despite that fact, sir, they have a lot of support of the US government,
Yeah.
especially by the Republicans. In that contrast, sir, and looking at this situation that 7 countries have been banned, they can't even apply for visas. And the third, though the US embassy's spokesperson, they have declined that, but you never know. When they talk about vetting, we Pakistanis will be vetted.
We will be subjected to extreme vetting.
Extreme vetting, right, sir? So that means that you can any blind man can also tell the equation, India and Pakistan. Now, in that contrast, sir, how do you see this Kashmir issue in the next 4 years, as long as Trump is in power?
I think we will have a disadvantage because the Trump administration is likely to be very supportive of India in all domains, in
Yes.
all fields. The point is that geopolitics is what governs today, even more so than in the past democratic administration. The present leadership, especially under Trump, is going to give much greater importance to their geopolitical calculations and considerations. And there India figures very prominently because one of the objectives in this region, in the Asia Pacific region, is to counter the Chinese. The US wants to counter China's growing influence, and though the US will continue to have economic relationship with China, but there also they will impose all kinds of checks on the Chinese government. So it is a rivalry which will develop further, and there the Indians are taking advantage of it because they are showing themselves as one countervailing force which can check that growing Chinese influence. So the geopolitical environment is not very favorable to Pakistan. However, we have to deal with this issue. We have to maintain our position, and I think one important element that we have to introduce in addition to what the General Sahib has said is that we have to bring out the role of the Kashmiri people. You see, so far we have largely been focusing on Pakistan presenting the Kashmiri case, and that is something that we will continue to do. But it is the people of Kashmir who are suffering, and the role of the Kashmiris has to be highlighted and has to be brought into international perspective. We have done that in the UN Human Rights Commission for a number of years, but besides the UN Human Rights Commission in Geneva, we have to also bring out the role of the Kashmiris in New York directly, and there we have to bring out the suffering of the Kashmiri people. We also have to, we have to try and get the support of some of the civil society organizations, some of the NGOs, because that is the way the US politics works. I have lived there for many years in our embassy, and I know how it works. So these are the efforts that we have to now work on, and I think we have a very able representative in Dr. Malia Lodhi,
Yes,
who knows this and understands this. And the Kashmiri uprising is something that we have not engineered. It has happened by itself.
But the general perception is that it is always fueled by Pakistan.
That may be true, but it was not generated by Pakistan, nor is it being sustained by Pakistan. Pakistan does give it its support, because we are in support of the Kashmiri struggle. But the world will come to realize that the Kashmiri people themselves are agitated. Now look at the Yashwant Sinha report, and coming from an Indian group of prominent people who have drafted that report, and they have said that that the Indian government has effectively alienated the people of Kashmir.
Correct.
And the people of Kashmir are no longer willing to stay with India no matter what. So this is something that has developed its own momentum, and it will take time, of course. These things do not happen very quickly, but I personally feel that the voice of the Kashmiri people cannot be suppressed indefinitely, and something will give somewhere.
You're optimistic on that front.
I am hopeful.
Provided if they play their cards right.
I am hopeful. I am not optimistic because things have not been so good, but I am hopeful.
Hopeful, okay.
That there will be some.
Now, sir, Yousaf Naseem Saab, when we look at, for example, if there is a case presented before the judge, it's equally important that you need to present your case very wisely. You need to market it properly, and then you need to have a very good lawyer who can really present it well, who can have a better argument. Are these things missing in that Kashmir cause, sir, for some reason? I had a word with the one of the very leading international law advocates, and he said that Pakistani case is such a strong case. It's such a, it's so legitimate, it's so powerful, but we haven't presented it well. We haven't been able to market it well. We haven't been able to sell it properly.
I think the answer is already given by the General Sahab. You have the best formula. You empowered the people of Azad Kashmir. They are free. They can do a lot. Constitutionally, they can't do anything. We are saying this base camp. We have Azad Kashmir here. We have Gilgit-Baltistan here. If the government of Pakistan were empowered to the people of Azad Kashmir to plead the case of Kashmiris, Pakistan at the back, and we have to prove this movement internationally as an indigenous movement supported by Pakistan as a party to the dispute. Because Pakistan is, if you can go through the UN resolutions, Pakistan is a party to dispute. This is also correct. Everybody in the world knows the Kashmiris are interested to join Pakistan. This is very much clear. But you have to give chance to the Kashmiris to plead their case, backing by Pakistan. If the base camp will work, this government is, if you will go, the constitution that has given to the other Kashmir people, And this is the government, Azad government of the state of Jammu and Kashmir. This is not government of Azad Kashmir. This government was at that time, Qaid-e-Azam, a visionary leader, he was of this opinion, the Kashmiris should plead their case and the Pakistan will support it as a party to the dispute. That doesn't happen so far, and that is the reason that the international community is not taking so much interest. We have seen in the regime of Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto Shahid when she was Prime Minister, and at that time there was a Kashmir Parliamentary Committee in the Parliament headed by Nawabzada Nasrullah Khan.
Nasrullah Khan, yes.
At that time, Mohtarama Benazir Bhutto introduced all parties Hurriyat Conference to the international community. They are the people, they are the leaders of the freedom struggle, and this was recognized in the OIC. Mir was there in that summit, and the Benazir took him to every head of the state. He is the leader of freedom struggle, and the people were listening to us, what Kashmiris want, what problem Kashmiris have. When the Pakistan is pleading our case, people are not taking interest. Pakistan is biased, Pakistan is trying to have Kashmir with that, but every person was interested to listen us. There were so many delegations went in the different power centers of the world. I was also part of the so many delegations, and the people were listening to us politically and diplomatically. We were getting support. But after that, from last 6-7 years, we have seen nothing. No Kashmiri is gone anywhere. Number one. Number two, if you will empower the government of Azad Kashmir, for instance, our one freedom fighter, he is a freedom fighter, Dr. Ghulam Nabi Fai, he was arrested in US. If Mr. Fai will work under the government of Azad Kashmir, supported by the government of Azad Kashmir, no one can arrest him, because he can tell them, I am getting all the benefits from my government, from Azad Kashmir.
But sir, but he is an American national. His wife is a Chinese American living in USA. But because I know I've met him at a few times in Geneva also, and Ghulam Nabi Fai always pleads the case very wisely. But the point is that for some odd reason now, what I this could I could
Point
be wrong,
is,
but
you
this is my own
have
personal feeling.
you have to prove international community one thing. This is an indigenous movement supported by Pakistan, not sponsored. Supported by Pakistan. Then you can win this case. Sure, for instance, we have a very good president, Azad Kashmir, president at present. He is a diplomat. He is knowing all the norms of the
Sardar
United
Masood Khan,
if you can empower him, go and visit all over the world. He can take some intellectuals from Pakistan, from Kashmir, and he will go all the power centers of the world. This is my case. What is happening in Kashmir? Please come for our help. The people will listen to you. People will help you. You have no foreign minister. If you will send anybody, some people went during last months, some delegations, they don't know about Kashmir. Where is Kashmir? What is their problem? How you can succeed this?
No, unfortunately, that happened.
If
You're
you
right.
allow me to add to this,
Please, sir.
a strong case, a good lawyer, but you also require an impartial judge.
Exactly right.
Okay. I see two silver
But
linings.
sir, we can present a good case. We can always provide a good lawyer, but
I
we
think,
can't change the judge, unfortunately. Sir.
That is the
That is
problem.
beyond our,
I mean,
domain.
as I said earlier also, that you can't blame your diplomat. They have been, doing very well. They have,
Yes.
pleaded your case, I think up to the right intensity, but it has not worked. In my opinion, I think there are two silver linings which I see.
Sir?
One is this growing, affinity between China, Russia, Iran, and Pakistan. If they keep on coming closer, because I do say that government has done a good thing that this thing is happening, but at the same time I must also add that we are very sluggish. I mean, we should have been very fast in getting our relations corrected with Iran, and also to strengthen our relations with Russia. We are going very slow. I do not know why. And this one problem, now they are, doing in that way. So one is this. This is one silver lining, that a bloc is coming up in this region, which will have a say in this region. And secondly, the CPEC. Because of CPEC, Chinese are our long-standing friends. There is no doubt about it. But now they have more stakes in Pakistan, in anything related to Pakistan, the peace in Pakistan. So I think now they might show some more interest in coming up with us as far as the Kashmir is concerned. And also, I always say this thing at all forums that with CPEC coming up, we have some cards up our sleeves for India also. I am not one of those who say that we should not allow them passage. We are a passage. I mean, between
You're a natural passage, sir.
Central Asian countries and Arabian Sea, Russia, China.
Trade has been taking place for so
we
long
can't,
on
we
this
can't deny this passage to natural forces. So what I would say is that we can bargain with India that okay, Wagah to Afghanistan and Torkham to Karachi, but please first do something about Kashmir.
Yes.
So that we have some bargaining chips.
Yes.
So I would reiterate again, one, that we keep on doing what we have been doing for the last 70 years, it will not work. We must strengthen our standing in this region. Something can happen, and we must use these cards that we are now having. Nature has been very kind that now they are with us, and then of course things are likely to change, inshallah.
Jalsa, another very important point I really would like you to throw light on is somebody said, you know what, this FATA should become a part of KPK. I mean, since it's a political decision, it will take time, or should it be considered as a separate province? Let's suppose a separate province or a part of KPK. People had issues that, KPK doesn't have sufficient funds to look after their own government. How can they look after FATA? Makes a lot of sense. Obviously, then the federal government will intervene and do something about it. Another important point, sir, Azad Kashmir will remain Azad Kashmir. It's a disputed territory. Why can't we declare Gilgit-Baltistan as our province? Why not?
The answer
You have
is
your
not-
government there, you have your people there.
The
Why
answer is
can't?
not very simple, because then, probably this is not the place to discuss the entire history, that what was Gilgit-Baltistan, before what time and when it was separated and all that. And also we have to see that...
Nay, this area was also attacked by the Indians, but this major who stood there, whose wife was also given an award by the Chief of Army Staff, if I'm not wrong, sir. I mean, he stood with the people and he just...
That is one point.
Yes.
The other is that you yourself was saying that India is trying to change the demography of the region. And if you, I'm just giving one point.
Yes,
If you separate Gilgit-Baltistan from Kashmir, and tomorrow plebiscite does take place, then what is going to happen? So it is not a simple thing. I'm of the opinion, and many political theorists are saying that Pakistan needs to be further broken into smaller provinces. And why you were talking about FATA merging with KPK. That is,
There were multiple proposals given to General
So
Qadir,
this
sir.
Gilgit-Baltistan and Kashmir, I think this is a sensitive issue, and it has to be dealt with very carefully. It has a number of angles to it, and I don't think I will be able to say anything sitting here about it.
Okay, then
I
we'll
would
have a
rather
word after
refrain
the
to do
program
that.
then, sir.
Right.
But last 3 minutes, sir, concluding remarks. Let's start from you, sir. What would you like to say on this particular day, sir, 5th of February, the Solidarity Day?
We have to again reassert and reiterate and highlight our solidarity with the people of Kashmir, because the principal party in this dispute or in this whole issue is the people of Kashmir.
Sir?
And they are the ones who are suffering. So that is what the world must understand. They should put aside the question of the dispute between India and Pakistan, which they say should be dealt with bilaterally, and
Correct.
that is what India wants also. So fine, we will deal with it bilaterally. But this does not mean that the people of that state should be subjected to this kind of massive human rights violations.
All right. Naseem sir?
I'm 100% sure, inshallah, we will get freedom from India. Number one, India is trying to become the permanent member of Security Council. I think he will fail till the decision of Kashmir will not come. Number two, India is also trying to become a big power, but can't be without the approach from Amritsar to Kabul and like this. And with even the gas line from Iran to New Delhi, there are 50% population of India is living under the below poverty line. They have also so many problems. That is, we have seen with our eyes what India is. India, yes, there is one thing, there is military might, and he's controlling the Kashmir with military might. Otherwise, he has lost each and everything in Kashmir. And in this scenario, we are seeing the international community now is taking interest in Kashmir. Human rights organizations of the world, they are taking interest into the issue of Kashmir. OIC is taking interest into this issue.
Taking interest in
European
being
Parliament.
effective. I mean, there are two different subjects altogether. But sir, I was totally running out of time. Jan sir, your comment,
The
please.
present movement in Kashmir, the emerging regional blocks which are coming up, CPEC, I see a lot of opportunities and I see better days for this region and Kashmiris, inshallah.
All right, Jan sir, thank you very much. Naseem sir, it was a pleasure.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you very much, Ambassador. And that's all we have for this hour. I'll see you again tomorrow at 8. Till then, you take good care of yourself. Khuda Hafiz from our side.